Two categories of federal workers will be receiving a pay raise next year. This is already surprising under the Trump administration, but these two different pay raises, it reflects how the president views federal workers differently. First up, 3.8%. That's going out to federal law enforcement officers. So this represents a real increase when it comes to your buying power. We're projected to see inflation hit 3% in 2025. So in actuality, we're going to be seeing a little bit less than 1% when it comes to an increase in your buying power if you are a law enforcement officer. Now, in order to make this happen, OPM is developing a special salary rate, or SSR, that covers certain law enforcement positions. SSR is not anything new. It has existed for years. Typically, we've used it for IT jobs, cybersecurity. We've used it in the VA for human resource jobs. We've also used it for medical professionals. When do you use SSR? You use it when there is a problem. If there is a problem with recruiting and retaining, you use SSR. So what's going to be the problem? For law enforcement officers, it's going to be a struggle to retain them. Why? Could it be because there's ongoing efforts to reduce the benefits of every single federal worker? Every other week you turn around, it's either union rights going away, it's the first pension under attack. It's always something. So it could be difficult to retain, but what about recruiting? You can't just recruit anybody into these law enforcement positions. It's not just grab a body off the street that has a pulse. There are requirements. Most people are not eligible due to health requirements. So how are you going to recruit qualified individuals to stay in your agency? So the reason it's being used is to combat high attrition. It's to keep butts in seats. They don't want you flirting with any other job offers, so they're trying to keep you in that agency. Now, who's going to get it? That has not been determined yet. But if it's my guess, if you're asking me, I'd say anybody who has a pistol on their side. You got a 9mm on your side? If you're carrying a 9mm in the capacity of a federal worker, a federal law enforcement officer, you might end up getting the SSR. You might get the pay increase. Now, this is individuals, let's say in the FBI, right? FBI, Border Patrol, right? ICE, certain individuals that work in ICE, they're going to receive it as well, probably. Maybe even the Bureau of Federal Prisons. We know they could use a break. Maybe some correctional officers over there. They've already stripped them of retention pay, so they're making a lot less money this year, so it would be nice to see them get additional money. It's hard to recruit. It's hard to retain for that type of job, so they could be receiving it as well. If you were to go on usajobs.gov right now, you would see over 200 jobs open for federal law enforcement officers. Now, do you want to apply to them? That's the big question, but you can filter through there. You can search, you can apply. The hiring process is going to take you a lot longer than if you were trying to get a typical administrative type job. Now, in the federal workforce, what you have to look at is over 90% of the jobs in the government, they don't involve having a pistol on your side. They're not a law enforcement type job. Now, the final pay chart should be released sometime in December, so we should know in a few months exactly who will be receiving it, who will not be receiving it. As for the rest of the federal government, the rest of the workforce, it's a 1% raise. So that's 2% lower than inflation. Everyone else will see a real decrease in their buying power. But you know what? It's not that far off from what Biden authorized during his last year as president. We received a 2% pay raise, which was shocking to a lot of people because of the inflation rate. There was a real push to have a 3 to 4, maybe even 5% raise, but we didn't get that. And then, of course, every time we talk about pay raises, somebody wants to chime in and say, well, in President Obama, we got 0%. He's the only president that gave us consistent 0%. And I got that. Well noted. Understood. So how would that 1% pay raise look like? If you're a GS11 Step 5 in the DC area, you would see your salary go from $95,000 a year to $96,000 a year, which would represent roughly a $1,000 a year pay raise, or $80 a month. Now, that's an increase when you're looking at your bank statement. When you pull up your bank account, it's going to show that you're getting more money every pay period. But that's not the only number going up. You know that. What else is going up? The price of ground beef is going up. chicken is going up. Your health insurance premiums are going up. If you have daycare expenses, those are going up as well. So it will feel like you're losing money, and you're not wrong for thinking that, because the inflation is eroding everyone's money and 1% is just not enough. But it's a lot more than I thought, and probably you thought. Did you actually think Trump would come out and actually approve any type of pay raise? Any type of pay raise. A lot of people didn't see it happening, especially because in his first term, he was so adamant about not giving pay raises. Congress actually had to step in to give us pay raises. It wasn't from the president's, it wasn't from the president's plan. It's not something that he desired to do, but it was done anyway. When it comes to the federal pay raises, President Trump has said that it should be on merit and skill. That's what pay raises should be connected to. So if you're thinking about only 10% or less than 10% of the federal workforce are law enforcement officers, is that saying that the remaining 90% didn't have the merit or skill to warrant a pay raise? And when I'm talking about pay raise, I'm talking about a real one. So something that goes above the rate of inflation. That's a real pay raise. Is that essentially what is said? Now, what I understand is if you are working in a hazardous environment, like a law enforcement officer, if you're encountering mentally unstable people or violent people, you should get more money than someone who is not. This is something that was done in the Army when we deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq. You would get hazard duty pay and also combat pay. A few $100s extra every month because you're putting yourself in a situation that's dangerous. So I think this is really the intent, is to give extra money to individuals that have it more difficult when it comes to being in a hazardous position, putting yourself in jeopardy. And they should just rename it that. Don't call it SSR. Don't authorize a higher pay raise for a certain category of employee, but recategorize it and say, hey, this is hazard duty pay because you're going out there and you're facing criminals or violent individuals, mentally unstable people. That's why you're getting this extra money. I think the public would be able to swallow that a lot easier. Speaking of law enforcement, what we're witnessing now is ICE surging. They want 10,000 new agents. They want you. They want your neighbor. They want your cousin. They want everyone to come on down, sign up, and they're willing to give you $50,000. If you could use an extra $50,000, if you know somebody that could potentially use an extra $50,000, this might be an opportunity for them, or maybe not. Maybe you don't want to work for them. But if you want to know more about that, check this video out next. Stay updated by signing up to the free newsletter down below. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.